Charles in His World. Listen, we are about to get into this video by Swamp Stories. They are talking about Boosie. So let's go ahead and play this video, and I'm going to come back with my reaction. Hit that thumbs up button, y'all.
He's a real gangster.
Is he really?
Like, he's a real gangster.
Wow.
And that's the thing that people don't realize about Boosie. Like, Boosie got like 30 to 40 around him all the time. And if you touch Boosie, something's gonna happen to you. Something's gonna happen to you.
If, as your friend, if you do something in the streets,
White.
He'll let the streets kill you to maintain the street rule. That's why a lot of his friends is dead, and the dark cloud sits over his head. See, when you so down with the streets, homie, you have one of your partners here, like Boosie was doing, upholding them street rules. Any man that constantly hide his eyes is not to be trusted. That's the window to the soul.
You always wearing sunglasses.
Man, you look a person in his eyes. Man, when you hiding your eyes, you hiding something. And Boosie hide his eyes a lot.
My mom used to say that.
He will not let you look at.
My mom used to always say that people who hide their eyes always got on sunglasses. You gotta watch them. My mom used to always say that. Let's get back into it.
To his eyes.
Uh-oh.
He done crossed a lot of friends upholding these street rules.
Since the dawn of time, humans have been duped by charisma. Whether it's by horrible dictators, cold-blooded politicians, dangerous kingpins, or even entertainers who live a double life. All of these people have one thing in common. They entertain you, they make you laugh, they make you smile, and they make you overlook the awful things they've done. In this case, we cover an entertainment genius, the ultimate hustler, and most importantly, a hip-hop legend. But what if I told you there's another side to this man? Possibly an evil control freak who eliminates anyone who challenges him. A man who comes equipped with goons who will throw away their freedom for him at any moment. And finally, a man who will turn his own friends and brothers into enemies simply because they want to leave his nest. Or maybe he's just a man who had to do what was necessary to make it out of his circumstances. In this video, I won't tell you what to believe. Instead, I'm just here to lay out all of the facts. This is the crazy story of Lil Boosie, so let's dive right in. South Baton Rouge, Louisiana, a place you've never been and a place you should probably never go. The area has always been poor, run down, and no stranger to violence, despite being just a couple blocks away from a major university. It's the kind of place that's extremely difficult to make it out of, and because of this, it creates some very dangerous people. In fact, the average guy you'll see here is 10 times more intimidating than even the scariest person in most states. In a lot of places, their structure and code.
Yeah, one thing about Baton Rouge, man, I got people that I know in Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge people, they don't, man.
To the streets, but here none of that is respected. In Baton Rouge, it's pretty much every man for himself.
Pretty much.
Things can go up for literally any reason. Jealousy and envy are the main reasons, and to make it worse, everyone is packing heat. No, I kid you not. Everyone in Baton Rouge is carrying 30s. Plumbers, college graduates, professors, I kid you not, it's literally everyone.
You're not lying.
This is what makes the environment so much crazier. In other cities, people squabble to solve issues, but sadly here, this could never happen. Thus why Baton Rouge is one of America's top 5 most dangerous cities.
Damn,
well, this story begins in the heart of the madness, particularly the West Roosevelt projects. This is where Torrance Ivy Hatch Jr. was born on November 14th, 1982. Growing up in the projects was rough as he was exposed to violence, substance abuse, and other vices that no young mind should ever see. At home, Torrance was raised by a single mother who was a middle school principal and well-respected woman in the community. But because teachers are severely underpaid, finances were very slim for the family. On top of this, his father was a street hustler who was in and out of the system.
Wait a minute, Bougie mama was a middle school principal? Jesus, and she wasn't, wow. She wasn't a teacher, she was a middle school principal? Wow.
Regardless of these hardships, Torrance had high expectations from his mother, specifically to follow in his brother's footsteps. This would be his older brother Takari, who was a well-mannered kid and a future college graduate. Takari was your typical mama's boy, the one who did everything right. Now on the other hand, Torrance was the complete opposite. Since a young age, he was known for acting out, fighting, and constantly having issues with authority figures.
As teens, we made different choices. Boosie went to Kenilworth for basketball because that's where he excelled in basketball. And that was just like the school they fighting and all that shit, you know what I'm saying? And the fights turned into shootings. So I think that's how Boosie ended up going that way, man.
While he was starting to head down the wrong path, sadly, tragedy would strike. In 1997, Torrance Hatch Sr. lost his life to a battle with cancer.
This is dad. Oh, yeah.
This is when Torrance Jr.'s world collapsed. His father was his superhero, and the one he wanted to see as much as he could. So now that his father was gone, Torrance no longer saw a reason to continue playing ball or even attending school. Instead, he entered his new persona, the one called Lil Boosie. From the age of 14, Boosie became a hustler in the streets of South Baton Rouge, an area where stepping on someone's toes can get you whacked. He started with nothing and ran it up with his two closest friends. First would be his best friend named Daryl Milton, also known as Bleak. Bleak actually grew up in the same projects as Boosie, and that's how they met. Since the sandbox, they were always together and were known to always stick up for each other. And second would be another close friend named Ivy Smith, also known as Lil Ivy. Ivy grew up about 5 minutes north of Highland Road in the top of South Baton Rouge. And according to locals, he was the pretty boy who was known to have all the ladies. Bleak was the muscle, Boosie was the leader, and Ivy was the popular one. In the process, they picked up a friend who ended up being the wildest one. This would be a handsome young man by the name of Nicholas Sterling, also known as Lil Finn. Lil Finn fooled everyone with his good looks, but was always the first one to blow. Well, long story short, they were the guys in South Baton Rouge. So while Takari was attending Southern University, Boosie was in the streets risking his life.
You know what I'm saying? My mom ain't teach me to be no gangster. The streets did this, you know what I'm saying?
But at the age of 16, Boosie discovered his true passion. Yes, he loved getting fast money, but he loved telling the stories even more. Boosie began recording songs at a local studio, and this quickly became his newest hustle. Right off the bat, Boosie had a small amount of success, which caught the attention of a local label. This would be Trill ENT, a label located just 10 minutes away in the Uptown neighborhood. Trill was owned by two Uptown legends, Marcus Roach, also known as Turk, and Melvin Vernell, also known as Mel. Turk and Mel saw potential in Boosie to break out of the region, so they decided to sign him as a solo artist. Right off the bat, Boosie's music caught fire. At this point, he had enough money to leave Baton Rouge forever. However, he remained in the trenches with flashy cars, wads of cash, and any girl he wanted.
Shit, I've been out of there.
Why would he leave the place where he's the biggest superstar? He knew that eventually someone would try him, but there's one reason why he wasn't scared. Boosie was rolling with some dangerous South Baton Rouge steppers. For a while, it was Boosie as the star and his three...
Our prices just got...
But Ivy actually wanted something more. Simply being Boosie's friend didn't cut it. Instead, he wanted his own career. In 2004, Ivy began putting out mixtapes and they actually caught fire in the streets. This prompted Trill ENT to inquire about signing him. Now you'd expect Boosie to be happy and to make that easy connection for his friend. You'd even expect him to bargain for more money from the label.
Right.
However, this wasn't the case, or at least that's the rumor in Baton Rouge.
Uh-oh.
The rumor goes that Boosie didn't want to see Ivy reach his level and that he wanted to be the only one in his crew with money and fame. And according to Ivy's nephew,
I can see that.
when Trill ENT was calling Boosie about Ivy, he wouldn't pick up the phone.
Yeah, Trill wanted to sign Ivy, yeah. That's what it was. Amy wanted to sign Ivy and Boosie ain't won't answer the phone. You know what I'm saying? And Bleak got tired of telling Ivy Boosie don't want to talk. He kept telling Boosie and all this and that. So Ivy said...
Because of this, Ivy and Boosie began bumping heads as Ivy felt betrayed. As a result, Ivy and Lil Finn began going to the club without Boosie. At the same time, Ivy was becoming a star of his own. He was handsome and could talk that gangster talk.
That's what he was scared of.
That takes us to March 19th, 2005. It's a Saturday night in Baton Rouge, and Ivy is excited to go out to the club and have some fun. On this night, the place to be happens to be a small town across the river called Port Allen, Louisiana. So at 10 p.m., Finn...
I'm thinking it's because dude was a handsome... They said he was popular with the ladies, and he was handsome. Boosie, I believe, probably felt like this dude, he already get the girls, he already popular. Even though he had the leadership qualities, Boosie had leadership qualities. You know, hip hop is all about popularity, and if you can get the ladies, then the dude's gonna be bumping what the ladies like, and then eventually they're gonna forget about Boosie. That's probably what he felt. You know what I'm saying? He felt like it wasn't enough money to go around.
Ivy and some TBG friends head across the bridge to Club Vibes. At the club, Finn and Ivy are getting all the girls because they have the popularity and the fancy chains. Well, another crew at the club does not take well to this at all.
Here we go.
This would be Uptown Baton Rouge's dope celebrity family, also known as DCF. DCF has been rapping and trying to build their label for years, so jealousy is heavy on this night. In particular, 2 DCF members are there to cause a scene. One would be Marquis Serta, also known as Big Marquis, and the other would be Tremaine Franklin, also known as Lil Pig. DCF Lil Pig actually happens to be first cousins with Lil Finn. He also happens to be former childhood friends with Lil Ivy. But on this night, the jealousy overrides the family connections. Well, inside the club, the DCF members start an argument for zero reason. The story goes that Lil Pig gets into an altercation with Lil Ivy and they have to be removed by club security. But thankfully, the night ended without any injuries and everyone was able to make it home. Regardless, the DCF camp now had a reason to make Finn and Ivy their rivals. And now it was only a matter of time before they see each other again. April 2nd, 2005. It's another Saturday night in Baton Rouge, but really not just any Saturday. Specifically, the night happens to be Lil Ivy's 25th birthday. So to celebrate, Lil Ivy headlines Club Shenanigans in North Baton Rouge. So at 10:30 p.m., Finn, Ivy, and a couple other friends head to the club. This happens to be the first year that Boosie isn't with Ivy on his birthday. Well, little does Ivy know, Boosie feels bad about this and he wants to reconcile the relationship. So at 12 a.m., Boosie heads to Club Shenanigans with gifts for Ivy. At 12:30, he arrives to the club and walks to Ivy's section. Boosie and Ivy begin to talk, and from what we know, the conversation doesn't go well. Coincidentally, during this conversation, the DCF crew happen to walk in the club. While everyone is distracted, the DCF crew began to walk to Ivy and Boosie's side of the club. They began yelling threats and walking up to the section. DCF, Lil Pig, and Big Marquis make their way up to the section and things go down. Specifically, Lil Pig targets Ivy and Big Marquis throws a sucker punch right at Boosie.
Damn.
At this moment, Bleak allegedly grabs Boosie and drags him out of the club. He then smartly convinces him to get in the car and drives away. A couple minutes later, police shut down the club and everyone is escorted. Finn and Ivy hop in their separate cars and begin to drive home to their respective homes. Everyone heads out, Lil Finn and his friends and Lil Ivy and his. Everyone is relieved that the night ended peacefully. Yes, Ivy's birthday was ruined, but at least he made it out. Or at least that's what they thought. Ivy happens to live in a suburban area all the way in eastern Baton Rouge, so he hops on Interstate 12 East headed to his home on Cavalier Drive. At 2:20 a.m., he gets off the freeway at the South Sherwood Forest exit. As he's heading down the street in his tinted car, another car pulls right beside him. The car then rolls down their window and bang! Baton Rouge stopped the next morning when everyone got the news. Ivy was an up-and-coming star and everyone was devastated. On top of this, they were wondering why this even happened. People from South Baton Rouge were looking at Boosie sideways because they knew that he and Ivy were not on the best terms. But those who were at the club that...
Here's one thing you need to do before buying anything online.
It simply had to be DCF. But you may be wondering how DCF followed Ivy's car from the club all the way to the suburban neighborhood. Mind you, this is a pretty far drive and a random place to go. It seems like a far-fetched that they followed them from the club all the way to the house. But then you remember that Lil Ivy and Lil Pig used to be close friends, meaning that there's a chance that DCF already knew where Ivy lived.
Wow.
Regardless, everything around the situation remained quiet for quite some time. But then, 2 months after the incident, a man was pulled over in North Baton Rouge. Police searched the car and were able to find the weapon used against Ivy Smith.
He kept the
However,
gun.
after proving that he was out of town on April 2nd, the man was let free on the Ivy charges. Everyone was even more confused as this man had nothing to do with Boosie or the DCF camp. No one was claiming to have done this, so the mystery remained.
Who
In
had
the
the gun?
meantime, Boosie repped hard for his friend Ivy, even though they were on shaky terms. He gave money to Ivy's family, and he stepped up as a father for his young son. On top of this, he made sure to keep his name alive through shoutouts and dedications in his music. On a positive note, the loss of Ivy brought Boosie and his friends back together. This ultimately put the rumors that Boosie had done it down the drain. And 2 years later, some hands began to reveal themselves. In 2007, Big Marquis began dissing Boosie out of nowhere. He claimed to have broken Boosie's 2 front teeth that night at the club, as he stated in multiple songs. He even began to call himself Mr. Two-Piece for the 2 punches that connected with Boosie's mouth. At this point, Baton Rouge did not know yet that dissing Boosie was a major mistake. To make matters worse, at the same time, rumors began to circulate that Lil Pig was responsible for Lil Ivy. For these reasons, Boosie was now infuriated at the DCF camp and something needed to be done. Obviously, as a superstar rapper, he wasn't gonna do it himself, so instead he needed his friends to step up. This right here placed Lil Finn in a major dilemma. Do I ride with my cousin Pig, or do I ride with Boosie and for my friend Ivy? Well, Finn was a cold stepper and he was loyal to Boosie and Ivy no matter what. And this right here may confirm it. On April 19th, 2008, Lil Pig and his mother were found inside his Acura TL right in front of her home. The incident occurred in a somewhat tucked-off suburban area of Baton Rouge. This begged the question of how someone found Lil Pig at this specific location. His Acura was tinted, and the man who did this was sitting across the street waiting for a couple of hours. There was only one plausible answer, as Lil Finn was his cousin, and this was his aunt's house. Lil Finn was never found guilty, but the streets of BR took this as a fact. Boosie began shouting out Lil Finn in his music under his other nickname Gangster Nick. In fact, he has a song called Gangster Lil Nick where he depicts the character of his young friend. In the song he says, "We lost Lil Ivy and he turned up his pressure." He also says he wanted everyone to know he did that. And lastly, he calls him his light-skinned stepper with 2 Glocks and a stick.
Whoa. So wait a minute, hold up. So he killed his own, well, he deleted his own, I already said it. He deleted his own aunt and cousin to side with Boosie? That's crazy. What y'all think, man? This is wow. Let's continue on.
When you live this kind of life, karma comes around in mysterious ways. December 9th, 2008. It's a typical Tuesday afternoon in South Baton Rouge and Lil Finn is outside his house on Tennessee Street. The Hood is outside hanging out when Lil Finn gets into an argument with a friend named Donald Eli. Finn's hot temper gets the best of him and he whips out on his friend. He misses and Donald sprints behind the house. Finn follows him to the back of the house, but this time Donald is ready.
Wow, this is crazy.
Donald was arrested directly after the incident. However, once police got the full story, they realized that it was self-defense. And as you would expect, all of the charges for Donald Eli were dropped. Regardless of the circumstances, the incident devastated Boosie as Finn was one of his closest friends. He was also upset because Finn was the only one proven to put in work after the loss of Ivy. Everyone knew that he was the main enforcer on the Boosie side, so this loss had some serious implications. Boosie was no longer protected like he once was, and
Listen, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead. I don't want to play this whole thing. If y'all want to watch the whole thing, go ahead and check it out on Swamp Stories. I'll put the link in my description. But here's my take on what I just watched. What we just watched. I remember one time I met this guy who was correction officer in the prison, right? And he would sometimes work in the death row area, you know, the area where the guys would be, you know, the guys that were on death row. And he said most of the executioners, or I guess you would say, were short. Short men are dangerous because they feel like they have to always. And Boosie is a short guy. He's not as short as Kevin Hart. He's a little guy. He's a little man. Little men are very. Napoleon was a little man. You see how dangerous he was. Who else? I believe Hitler was a little guy. You know what I'm saying? Little people are people you do not want to mess with because they feel like they have, little men especially, they feel like they constantly have to prove that you can't mess with me because I'm short. So they can be very dangerous, man. You know what I'm saying? And as far as the whole thing with Boosie not wanting his friend to be signed, I can believe that. I think Boosie already knew that, you know, this dude looked better than me. He already got the popularity already. Now with a record label behind him, he blows, and then he already got the girls. He gonna blow up over me, and then I'm not gonna have my shine. You know what I'm saying? I can see him kind of telling you, man. A lot of times, man, them dudes that be in the hood, that's why I kind of stay away from hood cats, man, because there's a lot of jealousy be in them. You know, I've been places before, sketchy places, and with my friends, and the dude just be hating on me for no reason because his girl may said I was cute and he overheard her. You know, you don't know, and then he looking at you sideways. I've been them little hole in the wall. Look, I grew up in Florida. We had them little hole in the wall little clubs like they probably got in Baton Rouge, and some dude be and I remember one time I was in one situation. And dude, my friend peeped what was going on. He's like, dude, these cats hating on you, dog. Let's roll. And we had like we was going to the bathroom and we bounced because we not hood cats. None of my clickers, you know, we can get hood, but we not hood cats. We educated, well, you know, not well to do, but blue, you know, regular working class, come from working class family. You know, we don't come from that hard project living. And a lot of times when you live in those type of situations, it breeds jealousy. If you get just a little bit, people be jealous of you, you know, and people be, you know what I'm saying, plotting against you. But anyway, I'm going to finish watching the rest of this. But like I said, I don't want to play the whole thing. If y'all want to watch the whole thing, go to Swamp Stories. They just released it maybe a couple of hours ago. It's called Rap's Original Serial Deleter, exposing the evil life of Boosie in detail. So y'all can go ahead and check that out on Swamp Stories. Appreciate you guys watching. What do y'all think? Do y'all think Boosie, y'all think he might have had something to do with those crimes that he was on, you know, on the roll for? What do y'all think, man? Leave y'all comments. Subscribe to Charles and Ezra. Appreciate it.